The architecture of our national emergency response was forged in the immediate post-war era of 1945. After nearly 8 decades of service, the structural assumptions of that period, built for a world that was far less interconnected, are reaching their expiration point. This structure operates on reductionist logic. Frameworks like the incident command system were engineered to handle single-hazard, bounded events by breaking complex problems into isolated, manageable pieces within a strict hierarchy. That logic requires clean inputs and outputs. A localized fire or a predictable storm enters the top of the command chain, stays within a clearly defined physical jurisdiction, and filters down to a solved state. Communication follows that same vertical path. The system relies on one-way, broadcast-style channels, like the wireless emergency alerts, that push static text to populations without a way for them to respond. This model was highly effective for the ordered society of the 20th century. But the rigid boundaries and top-down requirements that once made the system organized are exactly what make it brittle in the face of modern complexity. The 2024 to 2026 cycle of compound disasters, characterized by overlapping wildfires, hurricanes, and atmospheric rivers, demonstrated that the era of isolated incidents has ended. We are now seeing transboundary events. These are crises that cascade across city limits, ignore state lines, and leap across international borders simultaneously. Because our legacy mutual aid agreements and funding flows are predicated on single-hazard, bounded incidents, they struggle to process these blurred jurisdictional realities. When interconnected shocks hit a linear command structure, the flow lines fracture. The hierarchy cannot absorb the velocity of a globalized crisis striking from multiple directions at once. The shocks generated by an interconnected global system cannot be contained by a response machine built for isolation. As we move toward 2050, we are entering a period defined by transition hazards. This is the volatility that occurs whenever a civilization undergoes a shift in its dominant operational systems, from energy to intelligence. Climate-forced migration is already a primary transition hazard. Environmental instability drives population flows at scales that exceed existing sheltering and border infrastructure. We are seeing the economic dislocation of stranded assets. As carbon-based infrastructure retires, communities lose critical utility and tax bases faster than they can adapt. Simultaneously, democratized synthetic biology is lowering the technical barriers to biological engineering, increasing the risk of engineered pathogen events. Clinging to single-hazard response plans leaves the enterprise paralyzed when these environmental, economic, and biological threats occur at the same time. Survival in this environment requires a shift from reductionism to complex, self-organizing models that can adapt to rapid, unpredictable change. These technologies have a dual nature. The same clean energy transition creates grid instability, but also provides the microgrids and storage units required to keep critical shelters powered when the main grid fails. We see the same pattern with AI. It facilitates deepfake-driven misinformation, but also enables drone-as-first responder programs, providing immediate, autonomous damage assessments. Managing this complexity requires moving beyond the broadcast model toward bidirectional communication. New systems allow us to ingest geolocated signals and resident reports at scale, integrating rumor tracking and population needs directly into the common operating picture. This forces a move toward layered governance, a model where coordination operates across local, regional, and international lines simultaneously. As AI-augmented sensors and drones become standard, we are moving toward an environment where autonomous co-pilots manage logistics across interconnected networks. Because of the velocity of these systems, we must institutionalize a human-in-the-loop standard as our ethical anchor. This means adopting protocols for civilian emergency response, ensuring life safety decisions remain grounded in human judgment. We must build mandatory human judgment gates into the data stream. Any final decision regarding evacuations or resource allocation halts at a gateway, requiring manual activation to proceed. Autonomous systems are necessary to process the complexity of modern crises, but humans must retain the ultimate accountability for the life and death decisions they produce. We are standing in a critical tipping point between 2025 and 2030 to implement these foundational shifts. Institutional inertia remains the most significant threat to this modernization effort. Professional curricula at institutions like the Naval Postgraduate School must expand immediately to include mandatory training in autonomous systems and complexity theory. By rewriting disaster finance and command doctrine today, we will forge a resilient system capable of navigating the next 80 years of human progression.